Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this from. The time is 20 past 2. We're here back at the centre again today, so just kind of prepared for it. So today's session is going to be about the traffic light system and the difference between adding normal into your house. Thank you, Poppy. Nice kisses from her. What we're going to be doing today is just talking about inputting normal into the house. As you probably would have heard, we were speaking about your good list and bad list at the very end of the introduction. Hopefully that list would have been settled and sorted, and over the last course of the time that you've been watching these last videos, you probably would have seen some dog behaviour there that you're probably not really sure where to put or what class to put it in. So today we're going to be talking about your good list and your bad list, and also we'll be talking about the traffic light system. Each of these are very easy to get and kind of get your head round. So when we're talking about the kind of the good list and bad list, it was really easy to kind of define where your dog would be. Now, probably over the last couple of weeks or couple of days or however long, what's probably happened now is we've started to reason with what's normal, what's good, what's bad, and then there's probably some kind of blurry lines that sit in between what's probably good and bad. For examples, do I praise my dog for coming back via recall after he's taken 45 minutes to come back? You know, that's a massive grey area there that a lot of owners probably stand still with. So if you can now compare that example with the stuff that you've got going on in your head, I'm sure there are some blurred lines. And today I intend to try and make those lines slightly clearer. So finding normal, that's probably the first part where we need to start at. So finding normal normally suggests that with your good list and your bad list, what you've probably started doing is now creating this list to then hopefully start with a few good things, a few bad things, and today all we're going to be doing is just inputting normal. So to find normal, what now I'm normally asking you are the behaviours that your dog is performing most days, the good behaviours, are they actually good or are they expected? Are they expected or are they normal for him? So for example, my dog is very vocal, good or bad. I expect that from her, so therefore I can't put that on the bad list, and I certainly can't put that on the good list. There's quite a big grey area there, so that's normal for her. So what you'll probably find is most of your good things now start to come over. When it now comes to your good list, I don't want you to stress out about this. This is just a case of moving things over, which in turn then brings your normal list longer, your good list shorter. And what do we do about this bad list? What we find, there are so many black and white and easy, very clear, very strengthened behaviours that we can definitely know that our dogs are bad at. So with this help and with this time spent, what we're looking to do now is have the bad stuff go over to the good, and you think, yes, we've actually cracked it. My dog no longer jumps up on old Aunt Beryl when she first comes in. That's awesome. I thank God that's happened. So how long is it then that your dog doesn't jump up anymore? How long does it then become normal? So what I've been asking owners and stuff over time is pretty much 2 weeks. It takes roughly 2 weeks for a dog or a human, to kind of rearrange, know that the dog's not going to be doing it anymore, and then it becomes normal and expected. So therefore, 2 weeks later, we go from bad over to good, and then from good into the normal category. So as you can see now, we've started making kind of like an ecosystem for behaviour. I don't want a bad dog, and I certainly don't want a perfect dog. I want a dog that sits somewhere dead centre, and I hope this makes sense. What we now start to do is create a normal, which if we now look over into the traffic light system, we now start finding very easily what's the difference between good and bad, and then what sits in this normal category. The normal category sits dead centre between the two behaviours, and as you can see, we have a very straight and flat line. The reason for this is because at this time with normal, there is no good behaviours or bad behaviours on it. Therefore, it is a normal straight flat line and nothing is moving. So when we look at this now, imagine the London Gatwick ferry system, the tram system that sits between North and South Terminal. It's not going to move if there's no passengers on it. However, this is a very, very the same thing, because as soon as you start putting behaviour on it, it's obviously got to move. Therefore, you've asked your dog to do something, they do it. Well done, that's great. Loads of praise, whatever we need to do, and like we've spoke about in the first 4 videos. And then it's really important to start coming back to normal. We can hold on to this praise for as long as possible, providing that there is a behaviour there to praise. The idea with the kind of the good list and the bad list is to make sure that we are now starting to return to normal, forgive, forget, and move on. So, when it comes to the bad stuff, your dog does something wrong, you step up, you tell him or her off, and then the dog then comes back to normal. So, now looking at it when it comes to the traffic light system, you can now start to see where we're aiming for towards this. It would now suggest that we need to spend most of our time in this big normal category, which to some of us is really, really difficult, because we worship the bones of our dog, we love them to pieces and they can do no wrong. Or, dog's just bit the postman yesterday, so it's spending the rest of the time in the study. Again, these are all very extreme examples, but I'm sure they're easy to apply. I forever go to dog owners that think that the dog is the best thing in the world. Equally, I go to the dog owners that think their dog is the worst thing in the world, and probably, if it doesn't work out with me as the dog trainer, the dog would then be moved on or otherwise. When it now comes to this traffic light system, I want you to start looking at your dog as a colour. Therefore, is it good or bad behaviour to start with? Really easy. And then applying that colour into that behaviour. So, good is obviously for green, bad is obviously for red, and then looking at your dog as an amber colour. Amber light for a traffic light system. I'm well aware that this is a British and an English traffic light system, so for those of you who are abroad, I apologise. We'll just have to think of a different way to kind of pronounce this. So, back to the traffic light system then. How hard is it? So imagine now you've got you've got £1 million or $1 million worth of painting that's yet to be hung. So therefore it's waiting around on the floor, or something that's invaluable and you cannot replace. So I don't know, like a lost thing that's just come up from the Titanic. I'm not sure. Whatever that thing is, imagine it now. It's the worst thing in the world, or the best thing in the world. Your dog comes along, eats it, chews it, defecates on it, whatever you want to call it. The dog is obviously now stepped over to this bad area. You catch them mid-act, and therefore your telling off is just about right. How long is it before your dog comes from this bad back to normal? Instantly? 20 seconds? 45 seconds? The actual answer, and the one that I've been governing with most dogs, and this is an overall breed and a rough average of age, is about 45 seconds to a minute, roughly, give or take. Obviously breed dependent and training dependent. So if we stick 45 seconds to a minute. When it now comes to this period of time, that is not a lot of time at all. In fact, I've been talking nearly 9 minutes. I'm sure you're bored already. 45 seconds to a minute for your dog to forgive and forget and move on. That's no time at all, considering how long we as humans spend in this bad category. Now, a lot of us hold on to it for a lot longer, whereas the easygoing will probably just forget and move on within a couple of hours. But it's still that 59 minutes between the easygoing and the 59 minutes and 7 hours or something. This period here, we can now see why we don't have a normal conflict with our dogs about this. Because as soon as your dog does something wrong, that's the worst case scenario. Dog's forgotten about it within 60 seconds. So for those of you that put their dogs out in the garden for half an hour or in the crate for 10 minutes or whatever, all of those variables are far too long. And the idea being, the longer that the dog stays in there, the more confused he is for even being in there, especially after a minute. Therefore, why use your punishment as or longer than 60 seconds. My opinion would be that you kind of use those things that you've been doing on an average day, whether it means move them out of the room or time out or in the crate or whatever you've been using as your punishment, but please don't hold on for it. And this is what this whole thing here is moving back to. So exactly the same with good behaviour. Oh my God. Classic example. My dog had a find in Afghanistan, okay? And because the guys that I was with, I didn't really know, I must have found, I don't know, two or three devices, but by the time I got back to the actual camp where all my mates were, it must have been at least 2 months. But I couldn't wait to get back to tell them how good my dog was, how many finds I found, and I was still buzzing 2 months later. Now, put this into a human world. For example, dog goes and wins Crufts. I mean, that's fantastic for the owner, and congratulations for anyone that's won Crufts. They come back back down to where they live, and they're still buzzing about it 2 weeks later. This then suggests that they haven't come back to normal. Roughly the same applies. You can put your own variables in this. So, for example, if you're clicker training and the dog is guessing, the same applies. But again, this is just over for a normal specific, non-specific task. This traffic light system may or may not help you, and I hope you've got your head around it. You can see where I'm going with it, and you can see why I want people to return back to normal. I say, be more dog. Forget, forgive, move on. And when it comes to it, no matter how harsh or drastic that scenario is, that is exactly the same here. No matter how good they've done, you have to return back to normal for then the dogs to be able to understand where they are with you. Therefore, you are then creating the kind of the guidelines and the map, the things for them to kind of get on with. The traffic light system isn't for everybody, and for a lot of us, it's just making sure that we just keep on the right lines and just become normal, become moderated, and just ensure that we're doing the right thing. I hope this has helped, and I really hope that we can move on forward together and look forward to the next session. All right. Thank you very much for listening. As always, you know where I am if you need to get hold of me and ask questions and stuff. I hope I've explained this well enough, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.